Hey guys, I'm going to be showing you how to make a closure wig. Last time I showed you how to make a frontal wig. This time we're doing the basics, which is a closure wig. So of course this hair is from Nadula hair and I have their body wave hair. All the links will be down in the description box because I have forgot what they are. But I'm starting off by bleaching the knots on the closure, which is very vital and very important. I used to not do this and think I could just like cover up with a little bit of concealer, but it looks a lot better when you bleach the knots on the closure. I'm just using my BW2 white powder bleach and a 40 volume developer. So now that you've bleached the knots on your closure, now it's time to pluck it. So this is something I really used to not know anything about when I was first starting off making wigs. This is something that never really existed. I thought you only had to pluck frontals, but it really helps if you pluck your closures as well. So you can't really see how I'm plucking it, but I am doing it very sporadically and I'm skipping space in between. If you want a more detailed plucking tutorial, make sure you go and check out my how to make a frontal wig because I am a lot more detailed in that video. So now I'm just T-pinning the closure down to the dome cap that I used. I'm going to actually have to leave the dome cap that I used down in the description box because I use a dome cap, not a sewing cap. It's just something I personally like to use and I love the way that it fits on my head. I know a lot of professionals probably use like the sewing cap, but I've never been into that. I use the dome caps. So sewing down a closure is really simple because I just do the basic in and out method for this. There's nothing to it. Just like if you're a beginner sewer, all you're doing is just going in and out, in and out. You're not doing anything extra. And then when I get to the end, of course, I just knot it up and that's that for the closure. Super simple and easy. The hardest part about doing the closure is basically making sure that it stays still. That's why it's really good to get some T-pins to help you keep the closure in place. So here's the next step, the placement of the tracks. So I used to get so confused about this. It was really one of the hardest parts for me making closure wigs is the placement. So this looks really weird at this angle, how the dome cap is sitting, but this is where you're gonna want to place your first track. I know it looks weird and it's very awkward, but this is really what's gonna keep your placement really nice and in line. I used to have the tracks going all different which ways when I first started off, but once I learned that, you know, you start right here, I got it all together. So start right here. I mean, I can't really tell you the exact point where you start, but just on the edges, and you're going to put it sort of at an angle, and then you're going to start sewing. You can see it better than how I'm explaining it. So to me, the sewing technique that I'm about to show you is really simple, but it might be a little more difficult for beginners. So I'm going to zoom in for you guys so you can see exactly how I am sewing down these tracks. So I am doing the blanket method of sewing and it's really simple once you get the hang of it. I was a little confused when I first started, but all you do is you take the thread through the first part of the track. I literally take it through the weft of the track and then I take my thread. In this case, I pulled it towards the left and I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to thread it in front of the thread. So it's really hard to explain, but you can definitely see how I'm doing it. That's why I zoomed in for you guys so you can see better than what I'm explaining. So once you get to a point like this where you almost have a circle in your wig, just almost, you're going to want to connect each end of the weft to the closure. So instead of just going to end, you're going to go from end of closure to end of closure. Here is another view of the blanket method. You guys can see it a little bit better and a little bit more detailed here. So when you get to the point where you do have a full circle in your wig, you're going to want to start lining the tracks up and down, just in straight lines, and you can see me doing that here. And then in the next clip, you're going to see how I close out the entire wig. One thing I forgot to mention is, how do you end sewing a track down? I usually just knot it at the end, and I know I've seen some people like do knots in between the tracks and stuff, but I strictly do the blanket method throughout the track, and then at the end, that's when I finally knot the weft. That's when I'm done with that one weft. I know that this might not be the most secure method of making a wig and sewing down tracks, but this is just how I do it, and that's why I'm not a professional. So this is me closing out the wig. I'm just going to take the track straight up until I reach the end of the closure, and that's going to be the last track once everything is filled up and there's no more spaces that you can see. So this is the best part of making a wig, is cutting out that closure piece, because you know you are done.